refugees in 8%. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tisaranagamana paripurnang
Amaphante.
Panatipata viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Adinadana viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Adinadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Abrahmacharya viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Abrahmacharya veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Musavada viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Musawada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Suramiraya majjapamadatthana viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Surameraya majjapamadatthana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Vikala bhojana viramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Vikala bhojana เวรมณีสิกขาบาดังสมาดิยามิ
นัสสะ
นัจจา
กีตา
กีตาว
าดิตา
วาดิตา
วิสุขดัสสนา
วิสุกาดัสสานา
มาลากันดา
มาลากันทา
วิเลปนา
วิเลบานา
ดารณา
ดารณา
มันดนา
มันดานา
วิบูสนัฏฐานา
วิภูสนาธานา
เวรมณีสิกขาปดังสมาดิยามิ
เวรมณีสิกขาบาดังสัมมาดิยามิ
อุตสาสยนา
อุจจาสยนา
มหาสยนา
มหาสยนา
เวรมณีสิกขาปดังสมาดิยามิ
เวรมณีสิกขาบาดังสัมมาดิยามิ
ติสรณเนนะสหอัตถังกสมณกตังอุปโภสถสีลังธัมมังสาธุกังสุรคิตังกัตวาอัปปมาเดนะสัมปะเดธา
อามาพันเต
Today is 22nd of December 2024. Yesterday I talked about the two crucial factors needed in order to absorb the meditative objects, or we can also say in order to develop mindfulness, in order to develop concentration, in order to develop wisdom, and they are the accurate aiming, that is called in Pali Vitakka, and energy called in Pali Viriya. So yesterday I talked mainly about these two mental factors, and I talked about the definition of the energy Viriya as a mental factor of a brave person or a heroic person, or the mentality which belongs to a heroic person, a brave person, and also defined as enduring patience that we need when we have to endure the difficulties, problems or sufferings. And also I talk about the three levels of the energy. Number one is initial energy, Arambha Dhatu. Second, Nikkama Dhatu as uplifting energy or uplifting energy or boosting of energy. And third is Parakkama Dhatu, culminating energy. Among these three, I also talk the very first one, Arambha Dhatu, initial energy or launching energy. I also talk the two parts of the launching energy. The first part is to give up or to leave behind the sensual pleasure or holy pleasure, in order to gain the genuine pleasure or in order to gain the genuine happiness, we leave behind and we sacrifice. To sacrifice, we have to brave enough, and that braveness is also the energy, and to face, to get ready to face the difficulties that we will face at the beginning of the practice in the meditation center. So that is the first part of the launching energy. And after going to the meditation center, after having instruction into the practice, when we start to practice meditation, the energy that we apply in order to observe the presently arising object, or in order to observe the meditative object, that is the second part of the launching energy, and that second part is the main part of the launching energy. That is what I talked yesterday. By application of the first energy, Arambha Dhatu, as we start our practice, as we keep observing the presently arising object, at the beginning of the practice, things does not go as we expected. Some of we might have expected, by practicing meditation, or as soon as I practice meditation, my mind will be calm, my stress will be gone away, I will be free from immediately the mental and the physical sufferings, etc. These kind of expectation we might have. But as you know, as we start meditation, we come to see so many wandering mind, thinking thoughts. Everything starts to come. Everything starts to appear in our mind. Not only that, unpleasant sensations starts to arise that we have never expected, that we have never thought. As things do not go as expected, then boredom starts to arise. Boredom, laziness, the mind that wants to give up arise, at times even want to return back to home, want to quit the meditation retreat. These kind of mind arise which want to surrender, which want to give up. In order to overcome boredom, laziness, the mind which want to give up, the mind which want to surrender, now we need extra energy. Launching energy may not be effective. In order to overcome, in order to deal, in order to beat these kind of mentalities. So we need extra energy, and that energy is called uplifting energy or boosting of energy. Especially when we do sitting meditation, unpleasant sensation arise a lot at the beginning of the practice. Unbearable, unbearable sensation arise. Yes, we know that when sensation arise, we observe by application of the initial energy, we observe. We try our best to note. But as this unpleasant sensation starts to become stronger and stronger, at the time mind wants to give up, mind wants to surrender unpleasant sensation. At that time also, we need uplifting energy, boosting up energy. As I have already mentioned, energy is about braveness, mentality of a brave person. So that means at that moment we have to be brave enough. We have to be more brave in order to face the unpleasant sensation. Or simply, when we say energy or the viriya, that is the most common term for energy is try. We always say try. That is about application of the energy. So at that moment, we have to try more, we have to work hard. We have to work harder at that time in order to beat unpleasant sensation. We have to apply more energy, we have to try harder. So in order to try harder, in order to boost up the energy, uplift the energy, at times motivating oneself or giving inspirations oneself might be also effective, or there are some methods to apply in order to overcome or in order to deal, let's say not overcome, let's say deal or confront the unpleasant sensation. An example is given for this second level of energy. There is a dilapidated house, the house which is about to collapse. Even a small gust of air or wind can bring it down. So what we do, we prop it up with 2x4. When we prop it up with 2x4s, that house continues to stand. The house which is about to collapse, the house which is about to collapse, demolish, but by using 2x4, it continues to stand, or it does not collapse. Similarly, when mind is about to give up because of unpleasant sensation, or we can simply, in order to understand, we can say when we are about to change the posture, we are about to move our body because of the unpleasant sensation. When mind is about to surrender unpleasant sensation, if we use this uplifting energy, then at that time mind will not surrender, mind will not collapse, mind will not draw back, mind will not withdraw from that situation. So that is why the function of the energy is mentioned as supporting. It supports. It supports the mind and the mentalities which are about to collapse, which are about to surrender, which are about to give up. When mind or mentalities get the support from energy, then mind does not give up. The mind does not surrender. That's why the function of the energy is mentioned in the text as supporting. It is supporting factor. So in order to understand more, here I will talk how to deal with unpleasant sensations. Because I also believe right now most of the meditators are facing unpleasant sensations and is getting hard, is being tough time for meditators, because in every sitting meditators are facing unpleasant sensation and they are not being able to deal with the unpleasant sensation. That's why I intend to talk how to deal with unpleasant sensations. In order to deal with unpleasant sensation, first we have to change our perceptions towards the unpleasant sensation. Our wrong perceptions, wrong ideas. They are like we have the idea of our perception of, oh, these unpleasant sensations are arising due to meditation. I'm meditating, that's why unpleasant sensations are arising. In fact, not. Since we were born, we have been living with unpleasant sensation from top of the head to tip of the toes, in a whole body, in entire body, we do have unpleasant sensations. Before we are not mindful, we had no attention at all towards our body and mind. That's why we are unknown about the sensations of our body. But right now, we are trying to be mindful, and this mindfulness practice is mindfulness towards body and mind, nama and rupa. That's why now we are discovering, now we are knowing, now we are realizing the things that really exist in our body. So that's why unpleasant sensation, I won't say all, but most of the sensation that we face, that we realize, that we discover are the sensation that those really exist in our body. And then we behave unpleasant sensations as our enemies. We hate them. And that is also the right way. That is also a good way to deal with unpleasant sensation. Unpleasant sensation are not enemies. You don't need to hate. You have to behave like friends. In fact, in future, they will be your friend. You you will enjoy observing unpleasant sensation in future. In fact, observing unpleasant sensation, mind become very strong. You may develop patience, endurance. Your mind become double stronger because observing other objects, other phenomena, also mind becomes strong, but while observing pain, unpleasant sensations, your mind become doubly strong. So pain, unpleasant sensations are helping you to make your mind doubly strong. So that is also why unpleasant sensations are not your enemies. You don't need to hate. And again, we think unpleasant sensations as disturbances. In fact, unpleasant sensations are also the objects, phenomena to be observed. Rising and falling is also the objects to be observed. Thinking and thoughts, mental objects are also the objects to be observed. Unpleasant sensations are also the objects to be observed. That means by observing rising and falling, we can develop mindfulness, concentration, wisdom. By observing mental objects, we can develop mindfulness, concentration, wisdom. So do by observing unpleasant sensations, we can develop mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. We often forget that unpleasant sensations are also the objects, meditative objects, objects to be observed. In Satipatthana Sutta, in Satipatthana discourse, Buddha mentioned as a Vedananupassana, contemplation of feelings or observation of the feelings. So this is also a part of meditation. At times we forget that. And again, when we observe unpleasant sensation, we have a wrong intention. That is, we observe unpleasant sensation with expectation. We expect unpleasant sensation to disappear. We want unpleasant sensation. We want to make the unpleasant sensation to disappear. We want to get rid of them. We expect. In fact, we don't observe the meditative objects, any object. We don't observe in order to get rid of them. We don't observe them to make them disappear. In fact, we observe them in order to know their natures. With that expectation, when we observe, and when it doesn't happen, then mind becomes more frustrated, more irritated. Agitation arise, anger arise. Oh, I observe, but it's still not disappearing. Why? Why it is not disappearing? Then mind become more frustrated. So that is why the more expectation, the more frustration. That's why we should not expect anything from unpleasant sensation. As I have just mentioned, we don't observe unpleasant sensations to make them disappear. We observe them to know natures, or in order to develop mindfulness, in order to develop concentration, in order to develop wisdom. As long as you have expectation, unpleasant sensation will not disappear, because expectation is a big hindrance in meditation. Expectation is hindrance. It hinders in practice. It doesn't let meditators to move forward, to progress. That's why as long as you have expectation, you can't move forward, you can't improve, you can't see the disappearance of the unpleasant sensations. Observe unpleasant sensation in order for mindfulness, for development of the mindfulness, for development of the concentration, wisdom, and to make your mind stronger. So in this way, first we have to remove the wrong ideas, wrong perceptions towards the unpleasant sensation, and then we have to observe unpleasant sensation to develop mindfulness, concentration, wisdom, and to make our mind stronger. With that mentality, we should try to penetrate, we should try to dive into the unpleasant sensation as much as we can. If you keep hating, you can't dive into unpleasant sensation. That's why you should not hate. If you don't hate, then it will be easy to penetrate, to dive into the unpleasant sensation. Different synonyms I can use: dive into that unpleasant sensation, or observe closely. Keep your mind close enough to that unpleasant sensation, or penetrate. Try to penetrate into that sensation. Try to dive. Try to observe closely, or try to zoom in that sensation. This is the very first and the best way to deal with unpleasant sensation. Because by zooming in, by observing closely, when you will see so many things happening inside the pain, you may see many things. As you get closer and closer, you would see that, oh, it is not just a pain, it is the compound or the complex of the many sensations. You might see many sensations involving there, not just as pain, but you might see tension, tightness, hardness, burning sensation. So many sensations you might see. Then you might also see the changes constantly, they are changing. Pain also changing, or the sensations involving there are also changing. They might be increasing, they might be decreasing, or they might be shifting, moving one place to another place. Especially, you might see the appearance and the disappearance. Appearance and the disappearance of pain, unpleasant sensation itself, or the appearance and the disappearance of the sensations involving there. As you come to see many things, many interesting things happening inside the pain, now you feel relieved. Now you don't feel uncomfortable. Now it becomes easier to endure the unpleasant sensation. We find difficulty because we think pain is unchangeable. It is always there. It is just increasing. There is no sounds of like a decreasing. That is why it become unbearable. That is why we find difficulties dealing with the unpleasant sensation. But as we come to see many extra things happening, increasing also, decreasing also, moving one place to another place, shifting, changing, involving many sensations, especially when we see appearance and disappearance of unpleasant sensation, then we get relief. Now we don't find any difficulties in observation of unpleasant sensation. If you don't see, if you don't discover in this way, at least you might feel that unpleasant sensation is apart from your body, non-related to your body. It is apart from your body. And again, when we feel unpleasant sensation is apart from the body, then at that time also we don't feel painful. We don't feel discomfort. It's easy to observe. Pain is still there, but when we feel pain is like apart from the body, then at that time also it's easy to observe the unpleasant sensation. And it also happens when we observe closely, when we try to zoom in on pleasant sensation. At that time, the idea, the concept of my hand or my leg, or pain on my leg, pain on my hand, in that way the wrong idea also may subside. We find difficulties because we think my leg is hurting, my hand is hurting, my body is hurting. But when the unpleasant sensation falls apart, the idea of my hand, my leg, my body also subsides, then at that time also it becomes easier to observe the unpleasant sensation. We cherish our body a lot. That is also why at times we find difficulties in observation of unpleasant sensation. We might think that, oh, this pain will damage my body, or this pain will create some sickness, illness, or something will happen because of this pain. And when we have such kind of thinkings, then again it becomes hard to observe or to deal the unpleasant sensation. Nothing happens due to these unpleasant sensation. There is no history, there is no story like that in the legacy of the Buddhism, in the Buddhism history. So don't worry, nothing happens by observing, by dealing unpleasant sensation. In fact, your mind becomes more strong, your concentration becomes more strong by observing the pain, unpleasant sensation. So this is the very first way to deal with the unpleasant, to confront the unpleasant sensation, that is observing closely, trying to penetrate into the unpleasant sensation, or zooming into the pain, diving into the pain. By zooming in, if you feel tired, if it's not working, then when you feel exhausted, when you feel tired, now you have to zoom out for a while. So reduce, minimize the intensity of the energy or intensity of the observation. Simply we can say zoom out, observe, relax your mind for a while and observe from a distance. And after a while, when you believe again, okay, now again I can zoom in, then zoom in again. In this way, you have to zoom in, zoom out. You have to play with unpleasant sensation. Zoom in for a while when you feel a little bit tired, then zoom out. And when again you believe that, okay, now I can zoom in again, then zoom in, zoom out. When you keep doing so, at that moment also your energy develops, your patience level grows up, and at that time also you might see the disappearance of the unpleasant sensation. So this is the second way to deal with unpleasant sensation. There are more ways, there are more techniques to deal with unpleasant sensation, and I will talk them tomorrow. Today time is up. So the main point is we just need to uplift our energy. We need boosting up energy in order to deal with unpleasant sensation. Exercising, stretching your body will not help. Using balm or the medicines will not help. They are just temporary. They will not help. What you need to build up is you need to build up the energy. As you build up the energy, you will be able to easily overcome the unpleasant sensation. You will be able to deal with the unpleasant sensation. Right now, your energy is weaker than unpleasant sensations. That is why you are feeling difficulty to deal with unpleasant sensation. When your energy will be stronger than unpleasant sensations, at that time it will be very, very, very easy to deal with unpleasant sensation. That's why keep trying. We always say keep trying. If you keep trying again and again, that means you keep applying energy. If you keep applying energy slowly, your energy levels elevates, will grows up. It will grows up and it will become stronger, powerful. So may you all be able to develop the launching energy also, and may you be able to develop the boosting of energy, and by developing the boosting of energy, may you be able to deal with the unpleasant sensation. May you be able to enjoy an observation of the unpleasant sensation, and may you be able to develop mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom as well. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Imaya
Imaya
Dhammano Dhamma Pati ปัตติยา
ธัมมานุธัมมาปฏิบัติยา
บุตตังปุเสมิ
บุตตังบูเชมิ
อิมายา
อิมายา
ธัมมานุธัมมาปฏิปัตติยา
ธัมมานุธัมมาปฏิบัติยา
ธัมมังปุเสมิ
ธัมมังบูเชมิ
อิมายา
อิมายา
ธัมมานุธัมมาปฏิปัตติยา
ธัมมานุธัมมาปฏิบัติยา
สังฆังปุเสมิ
สังฆังบูเชมิ
อิมายา
อิมายา
ธัมมานุธัมมาปฏิปัตติยา
ธัมมานุธัมมาปฏิบัติยา
มาตาปิตโรปุเสมิ
มาตาปิตาโรบูเชมิ
อิมายา
อิมายา
ธัมมานุธัมมาปฏิปัตติยา
ธัมมานุธัมมาปฏิบัติยา
อาจริเยปุเสมิ
อาจาริเยบูเชมิ
อาดาอิมายา
อาทาอิมายา
ปฏิปดายา
ปฏิปดายา
สรามรณะมา
จารามรณัมหา
ปริมุตสิสามิ
บาริมุจิสามิ
อิดัมเมปุญญัง
อิดัมเมบุญญัง
อาสวัคคยาวหัง
อาสวัคยาวะหัง
โอตุ
โอตุ
อิดัมเมสิลัง
อิดัมเมสิลัง
มักกะพลาญาณัสสะ
มักกะภาลาญาณัสสะ
ปัสสโย
บัจจโย
โอตุ
โอตุ
อิมังโนปุญญาภากัง
อิมังโนพุญญาภากัง
สัพพสัตตานัง
สัพพะสัตตานัง
เดมา
เดมา
สัพเบสัตตา
สัพเบสัตตา
สุขิตา
สุขิตา
ภวันตุ
ปวันตุ
สา
สาธุสาธุสาธุ
You have chosen to do walking meditation. After choosing the location, you have to fix the walking lane. The minimum walking lane must be 10 feet and maximum 60 feet. So in between 10 and 60, you can fix by yourself. 20 feet, 30 feet, 40 feet. It's up to you. And then to do walking meditation, you have to keep holding your hand. You can hold in front like this, or you can hold back at back. In fact, as a meditator, you have to keep holding your hands wherever you walk. Not only when you do walking meditation, like When you go to dining hall from meditation hall, at the time also you have to walk by holding two hands. When you come to meditation hall from your room, at that time also you have to keep holding your hands. So means wherever you walk, it is better to walk by holding two hands together. Because if you keep holding your hands, it helps. It helps you to be mindful. Otherwise, you might be swinging your hands and that will not support to be mindful. The another important thing is controlling your eyes. That is the most important. I don't know how yogis can look here and there and keep walking. And I don't know whether they are able to observe the movements of the leg while looking here and there. So you have to restrain your eyes. Don't look too far. Don't look too close. Right in front of you, within 5, 6, 7, 8 feet. You can go maximum 9, 10 feet is okay. If depends on the condition. Sometimes you might look a bit far also, but mostly we cast down. We cast down our eyes to restrain, and by restraining eyes, it becomes easier for us to pay attention, to focus, to observe the movements of the legs. If you do good walking meditation, then your concentration becomes durable. It lasts long. It really helps to improve mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. Not only that, it will support you in sitting meditation. And now when we are ready to make steps, so when you move right step, you have to observe the right step. And I mentioned your steps should be natural. You should not make it artificial. You should not artificially raise your leg. You should not artificially drop your leg. Just make it natural. You just move naturally, simply. For example, if you do right step, left step, very simply. Right step, left step. So you do simply, and another thing is make it smooth and gentle. If your step is rough, not gentle, then at that time also it is difficult to focus. So make it gentle and smooth. Some yogis' step is rough, and some yogis' step is quite quick, and they step down shortly. They move quickly and they place back shortly. Even they don't move bit forward. So don't make it quick also. Don't make it rough also. Make it smooth, gentle, and make it natural. Then it is easy to pay attention. Some yogis may do experiment like by when placing back, like first placing toes or by placing first by heel. In that way, some yogis may do experiments. Try not to do. You don't need to do experiments. Do natural placing. And again, when you do like lifting, dropping, on the first day also I mentioned, though you do lifting, dropping, you don't need to raise your leg too high, like a lifting, dropping. Do it natural. When legs come up, that is lifting. When the leg starts to fall, from that dropping starts, and that is falling. Just do naturally, lifting, dropping. You don't need to raise your too high, like lifting, dropping. No need to do that. Then when you do lifting, moving and dropping, you have to do a bit slower, but it's still normal. Just walk in normal way, like lifting, moving, dropping. Very simple. Lifting, moving, dropping. You just need to slow down, make your steps slow, gentle and smooth. In that way it becomes easier to pay attention. And then I mentioned when you complete your walking lane, you have to stand up for a while. We have to stand up and we have to observe standing position, and we have to notice standing, standing, standing. Then we have to note wanting to turn, not wanting to turn, wanting to turn. Then only you have to turn. While turning, I mentioned don't do U-turning. You have to turn on the same place that where you are standing and turn bit by bit. At least you have to give time to note 2-3 times turning, turning, turning. Slowly you have to turn around. After turning around, then again notice standing, standing, standing twice or thrice. Before walking, there is the intention mind to walk. Note that mind twice or thrice, like wanting to walk, wanting to walk. Then again, you have to start your walking. At times when we do walking meditation, we feel lazy to notice standing. We don't want to note wanting to turn, then turning, or wanting to note wanting to walk. Immediately we want to turn and we want to do walking. It is natural to arise this kind of laziness, but you have to overcome that laziness by noting according to the instruction. Later you will understand the importance of noting standing, wanting to turn, turning, noting wanting to walk. Later you will know the importance or benefits of noting these things. That's why try to apply into the practice. We can develop mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom by doing walking meditation as well. It is as important as sitting meditation. Sometimes we have wrong idea. We think doing sitting meditation is better than walking meditation, or we think walking meditation is less important than the sitting. In fact, not. In the history of Buddhism, there are many noble ones who become noble ones while doing walking meditation. That's why please do walking meditation also diligently. This much for today.